I hope you're having a great day. Today I want to talk about endometriosis. Now, this is a problem that plagues girls and women, millions of them across the world, and a lot of them choose to live with this. A lot of them choose to get it medically treated. Now, we need to understand what's exactly happening in the body. There are very few cases which need immediate medical attention. But when you have an endometriosis in your body, the first thing that we need to understand is, why is it happening? Why is the environment of my body supporting the growth of my endometrial lining? So let's understand that endometriosis involves the reproductive system of a girl or a woman's body. You have your uterus, and the inner lining of your uterus is a series of connective tissues. These tissues keep growing in your uterus, and it keeps changing as per your cycle. Now, when these tissues start growing outside of your uterus, so the growth is supposed to happen only on the inner linings of your uterus, but when it happens outside, externally, that's what endometriosis is all about, basically, and that's when it can become a little bit dangerous for you. It can affect your hormonal balance and a whole load of other issues, from cysts to polyps to even endometrial cancer if it becomes a large mass of tumors. Now, the problem with the endometrial lining growing outside of your uterus, it can affect your ovaries and your reproductive system at the same time. Now, what we have to understand that the estrogen in the human body plays a huge role in this. Estrogen is not a bad hormone. We need estrogen. Every woman requires estrogen for their hair, for their skin, for reproduction, for everything in the human body. The problem is when we have excess estrogen. So when we hear of an ER positive, that's the estrogen dominant breast cancer, we know that the fuel to those cancer cells is predominantly estrogen. So we need to make sure that our estrogen levels are managed the right way. Now, food plays a huge role. You see, food in our lives is not just about energy. It's not just about fuel and energy to the human body. Food has an impact on every single cell in your body, almost every function, every organ of your body. And it basically regulates functions and hormones in your system as well. So you're either feeding your body with the right food or the wrong food. But all that food is energy to your cells. And if your cells have the right kind of energy, they work the right way. You see, hormones are basically chemical messengers in the human body, and we have to understand the importance of hormones in both men and women, and children as well, every single human being. Your hormones are chemical messengers which are constantly communicating with one another for every function to happen in your body. Whether you lift a finger, you have a thought, there's a behavioral change, it's your digestive system working, it's your period cycle, everything is stimulated with the communication that you have between trillions of cells in the human body. So you either have the right communication or you have the wrong communication. When we have the wrong communication, we have health problems. That's how it basically works. Now, we also have to touch upon the endocrine system in the human body. The endocrine system in the human body has a function of regulating and releasing these chemical messengers called hormones. So if your endocrine system is working the right way, you are regulating your hormones and releasing your hormones the right way. If you have a problem with your endocrine system, you have a problem with your hormones. So now let's look at the things. Let's first look at what some of the symptoms are for endometriosis. So some of the most common symptoms are painful intercourse. When you have painful sex, that could be a sign. You have a lot of bleeding, a lot of heavy bleeding, a lot of irregular bleeding. You want to get this checked by your gynecologist to check your endometrial lining. You have a change in your bowel movement. You could be fluctuating between diarrhea, you could have extreme constipation, or you could have either one of them. You could have a lot of constipation, or you could have a lot of IBS or diarrhea at the same time. You're constantly bloated and you're fatigued. Everything doesn't have to be about your gut. Women especially, don't ignore constant bloating and constant fatigue, because this could mean that you possibly have an endometrial problem. Watch your period cycle, the regulation of your period cycle, the amount of pain that comes through it, because irregular period cycles are not something that you have to worry about all the time. But if it's happening consistently, you want to make sure that you get yourself checked up, basically. And then we have issues like a lot of young girls and women today experience IBS. This is irritable bowel syndrome, where they have constant loose motions throughout the day. They have a meal, they have loose motions, they constantly get anxious and they have loose motions. So what happens is this affects your gut. And what happens is anything that affects your gut affects the regulation of your hormones in the human body. The opposite of that is constipation. And we all know that being constipated, like I keep saying in all my videos, it is a very serious issue and you must take care of chronic constipation. It's common sense, although it's not categorized as a medical issue. we should really give it that importance, because it's common sense that's required over here to understand that constipation is bad for you. When you're constipated, you're keeping toxic waste in your system. How many of you will poop and then put your hands in the toilet pot and take out your poop and play around with it? You wouldn't do that. That's disgusting, right? Why? Now imagine you're keeping that same poop in your system when it's supposed to pass out of your system. Think of all the bacteria that's growing in your system. Think about all the fermentation in your system. Think about the gases that you're producing. Think about the toxins and the acidic environment that you're creating in your body. Now, how is it linked with endometriosis? It is linked through estrogen. Women pass out estrogen through their urine, through their sweat, and through their bowel movement, which is your poop. You keep this poop inside of you. You back up estrogen into your liver. You don't have a functioning liver. You reactivate estrogen in your body, and you have this whole cycle of estrogen dominance. Like I said, the problem is not estrogen. The problem is estrogen dominance. So you create a cycle of excess estrogen that basically feeds the growth of your endometrial lining or your ER-positive breast cancers. So number one, if you have a problem with your bowel movement, the first thing you need to do is fix it. You know, women should ask their young daughters and children and their parents, you know, if they're constipated, because a lot of people think it's okay to be constipated and they're just living, taking laxatives and stool softeners, thinking that it's fine as long as we pass out a motion maybe in a day or two. It is not fine. It is your body telling you that there is a serious issue with your bowels and you need to fix that problem right away. Let's move straight into basically the resolutions and the remedies. Number one, you want to look after the health of your liver. If you have an endometrial problem, you want to make sure that your liver is clean. So you want to look at the amount of medication you're going through. Are you keeping your liver clean enough? Are you detoxifying your body by eating your fruits and vegetables every day, having the right water quantity? Because liver also has a huge role in the way estrogen is managed in the human body. So if your liver is not functioning the right way, you have a problem with your estrogen. Castor oil. You can use castor oil basically on your abdomen when you have extreme endometrial pain. So people use castor oil packs, or people even put drops of castor oil in the navel, in the belly button region, and they move it around in a concentric way, because this oil also gets absorbed into your system. So this has been used for thousands of years with women who have issues with their reproductive systems. It's something that you can still use today. Now we have to talk about toxin disruptors. Estrogen also comes into our system, even though we have a very clean lifestyle, from the air that we breathe. The cosmetics that we use, yes, it is real that most cosmetics that men and women use is high on estrogen. Now this gets into your body because we absorb the amount of creams and moisturizers and shampoos that we use. So your estrogen dominance increases in your body from the various chemicals, which a lot of them are estrogen disruptors, which are available in most of our most commonly and expensive branded cosmetics that we think are great for us. So it's a good idea for you to move more into organic cosmetics and cosmetics that are free of parabens, which are free of fragrance, which are free of all of these things. They exist. They really do exist. They just probably don't have all the fancy branding that the brands that we constantly support can use that money to market themselves better. But there are so many cosmetics and soaps and creams and shampoos which are made by farmers, which are made by small industries where they don't put chemicals in. And that is what is great for you. Just because your cosmetic is branded, it doesn't mean it's going to make you prettier. It doesn't mean it's going to make your skin better. That's what we think. That's our mindset. That's how marketing has made our mindsets believe that a more expensive product or a more fancily marketed product will be better for our skin. Sometimes things as simple as coconut oil works as the best moisturizer in the world, and most people know that. Anyway, from cosmetics, we move into BPA from plastic bottles. People who are constantly drinking from plastic bottles. We have BPA, bisphenol A, which is a huge estrogen disruptor in our bodies. So you know, there are a lot of xenoestrogens. These are estrogen that doesn't behave in a positive way in our body. We got to be careful of those xenoestrogens getting into our system. Turmeric is fantastic when it comes to the endometrial lining. Turmeric, curcumin, whatever you want to call that, okay, because it is highly anti-inflammatory, and endometriosis is nothing but an inflammatory condition. So when we look at things like ginger, highly anti-inflammatory, garlic, turmeric, all of these things, you want to look at cruciferous vegetables. Cruciferous vegetables include your broccoli, your kale, your radish, your cauliflower, your cabbage. These are fantastic vegetables to basically balance estrogen in the human body. So there's a chemical, there is an element in cruciferous vegetable extracts called DIM, and that's what we use with cancer patients as well. It's simply nothing but extracts from broccoli, kale, cabbage, cauliflower, and all of these things, which is fantastic for balancing estrogen in the human body. So you can get that naturally into your diet. And then, when you have a lot of pain caused by endometriosis, heat pads, hot water bags, these are great to relieve you from that pain immediately. But again, it's an inside-out approach. You want to change the environment in your body to make sure that your endometrial lining does not grow out of your uterus. Lose weight. If you are carrying a lot of abdominal fat, a lot of weight, guess what? You have a hormonal imbalance already. When you're carrying excess belly fat, you have an imbalance between your estrogen, your androgen, your testosterone levels. So it's a good idea for you to start losing weight the right way using lifestyle. You don't have to jump onto fat diet programs and all of that stuff to lose weight. We all know that it gives you short-term results and then you put that weight back on. And most people using fat diets to lose weight they lose the quality of their skin, their hair, they start getting constipated, they drop their immune system and all of that stuff. Use lifestyle, use a balance in your nutrition, exercise, sleep, and emotional health to basically lose weight. A cup of hot ginger tea is fantastic when you have these abdominal pains, when you have an endometrial problem, because again, it's anti-inflammatory, and a lot of women who go through endometrial problems have nausea. And ginger tea is great for reducing nausea in your system. Finally, it comes down to your exercise. A sedentary body has a hormonal imbalance, which means you will have a problem with your endometrial linings, your ovaries, your reproductive system, your weight gain. So do not be sedentary. We want to be active. We want to make sure that we are exercising and moving our body every single day, only because our lifestyles have become sedentary in nature. When it comes to food, we're looking at a balance, and the foods that we mentioned. Your sleep is so important. Most women who sleep less have problems with their hormones, because we have to understand that while we sleep, the hormonal balance happens. So it's extremely important for you to understand that a good night of sleep also works for the health of your hormones. And finally, in most of the endometrial cases that we see across the world, most of these people are going through chronic stress, chronic emotional stress. And it's simple to understand how stress can impact. The usual debate is people say, oh, but everyone's stressed. Yeah, we know everyone's stressed. That doesn't mean that you don't do anything about it. Everyone's stressed, but you have an endometrial problem, so you've got to make sure that you handle your stress. We all know that stress involves your hormones like cortisol, insulin, adrenaline, all of these hormones. So when your hormones are in imbalance, estrogen gets impacted. The more stressed you are, the more imbalance you have with your progesterone and your estrogen. People who are diabetic, women who are diabetic, you want to make sure you work really, really hard to reverse your type 2 diabetes, because insulin, again, is a hormone. And when you have a problem with any hormone in your body, it is impacting your estrogen, your progesterone, and other hormones in some way or the other. So you see, I may speak a lot about these things, but it all comes down to one simple solution. What is your lifestyle? How is your health currently? Okay, if you have bad health right now, what kind of lifestyle is supporting that poor health? And what kind of lifestyle changes do you need to make to change your health problem? It all comes down to the magic drug, which is lifestyle, which includes the way you eat, the way you sleep, the way you move, and the way you think and feel. Have a great day, everyone. Until next time, eat smart, move more, sleep right, and breathe deep.